Hey everybody, it is time once again for another Rahdo Q&A. And hello everybody, I'm about to answer a bunch of questions submitted by folks like you to the email address questions@rahdo.com. And by all means, folks, if anything I talk about or my wife talks about, because she sometimes shows up on these as well, prompts any further questions from you, well, you know what to do. Questions@rahdo.com is the email address. Keep them coming, folks. I want to hear your cues so I can am. And speaking of which, let's get right to it. But, folks, I'm going to talk about several different topics today, and if any of them don't really strike your fancy, don't worry. There are links down in the show notes that let you jump around from question to question so you can listen to just the parts you're interested in. All right, sound good? Then let's go.
Okay, everybody, let's get to it. We're starting out with Wally, who says, first of all, here's my friendly reminder for you to talk about your list of the if you could only own one game from every year. Now, what Wally is talking about is recently I saw Shaggy of, was it Totally Tabletop, had done a list that I thought was very cool where he went through every year from like 95 until right up to today and said, if I could only own one game from this year, this is what it would be. And I thought that was so cool and fun. I did my own version of it, and then Wally posted, hey, could you talk about that a little bit in comments somewhere? And I said, well, yeah, you send an email to questions@rahdo.com, I'll do it, and he did. Wally, you made good. So, first of all, to do this, let me go back and find this thing, right? Because I need to find it. There we go. So, where are you? It is there, okay. Right, I need to go to, what is it, YouTube, Totally Tabletop? Is that Shaggy's? No, it's Totally Table, there it is, Totally Table, YouTube. And it's probably going to be his most recent video, or one of his most recent videos. We will wait patiently for it to come up. Come on, Starlink, you can do it. Alrighty, and we go to his videos, and then here it is. Yep, it is his most recent video. And then, if you pause, because we're not here to hear Shaggy's, although I highly recommend the video to everybody, folks. It's I can only keep one board game published each year. But anyway, if we scroll down a little bit, somewhere, there should be some comments, right? Where are the comments? Here they are. And I think, yeah, he pinned me right on top, so everybody sees mine right when they come in. So, there is the list of if I could only keep one game from every year. And, it's interesting, for the later years, this was actually a really easy exercise. For the earlier years, it was harder. So how did I do this? Well, first of all, for the later years, you could do this too, folks, if you want to know what I think. Go to top.rahdo.com, and basically it's my collection sorted by years, right? Come on, Internet. I should clearly have just preloaded this. Okay. Oh, hold on a second, folks. Jen is contacting me via the walkie-talkie because she just took the dogs for a walk. I need to report in. Okay, dog leash delivered. Where was I? Oh, right. Okay, so, like 2023, these are all my top games. I had to pick, in most cases, I probably just picked my favorite game of the year, but not in all cases when I was doing the Shaggy exercise. I think I gave it to Earth in 2023, but in 2022, what did I give it to? I didn't give it to Planet Unknown. It was my favorite game of the year, but, it is still, at its heart, just a pretty straightforward tile layer, which is like a really cool, extra element with the... Actually, that's not true. There's actually a lot of really cool stuff in the game. Make no mistake. But I didn't go with that. I went with number 7, Free Radicals, because Free Radicals is 10 games in one box. If I'm only going to have whatever this is, 20 games, I'm going to want 10 games in one box. So, Free Radicals was, the obvious choice from that year. And then from 2021, I went back to my favorite, Roll Camera, which is my top game of the year, because I wanted to make sure I had plenty of co-ops, and this is one of my favorites. It's got so many expansions, because that was actually one of the things that Shaggy clarified for his rules were, hey, if you had the game, you could also have expansions too. So I was kind of eyeballing games that have a lot of expansion content because I'm going to want more and more for these fewer games I have. And then when I went to 2020, I don't think I put Hallertau. Oh, I went with Furnace because Furnace plus the expansion. Well, honestly, Furnace plus the expansion probably retroactively is my number one game of 2020. And, it probably does deserve to be bumped up a few ticks to beat out Hallertau. So that's how Furnace, and Furnace is just such a brilliant auction game. And then I probably went with Maracaibo in 2019. I'm actually just doing this game because I don't even 100% remember what all I said. Am I right so far? Yep, I did do Maracaibo from 2019. And then 2018, well, Blackout Hot Color is my number one, but actually my number 12 of the year is Carpe Diem. But Carpe Diem was actually the best game of 2018 by far. It is the best game I played. But the problem is the publisher, I've talked about this in the podcast before, well, were idiots and basically, hobbled the game and made it much worse with their second printing. They kind of stealth nerfed the game and made me like it a lot less, which is why I think I put in the comments, hey, Carpe Diem would be by 2018, but only if I could get the first printing. So, I figured I could, do that. And then in 2017, well, of course, Gloomhaven, obviously. There's so much gameplay in that box. But then 2016, I went for my number 2, Project Elite, because I love Manhattan Project Games Empire. With the expansion, it's even better. But Project Elite has a bajillion expansions. It's got so much content. When Cool Mini or Not reprinted it, I figured I'd give you more bang for my buck. Plus, it's another co-op game, and it's more unique with all the real-time stuff. So that seemed like the better choice. And then, did I go for Elysium? No, I think in 2015, again, I went with Isle of Skye because it has more expansion content as my number 2 of 2015 instead of my number 1, which was Elysium. Then 2014, okay, Shadowrun Crossfire is the best game of 2014, but I went with Roll for the Galaxy because that's my wife's top 3 games of all time, and I could not have that. That was a tough one. That was being my toughest, but that was me putting my wife's needs over my own for 2014. 2013, Nations is the best game of the year, but again, I went with my number 7 of the year, Amerigo, because that's also in my wife's top 5 games of all time. And so, again, I was putting her needs over my own. So that's how that one got chosen. Number 2012, again, Jen prevailed. Keyflower is my favorite of 2012, but Escape is in her top 10 of all time. So I gave it to Escape. Plus, Escape has so much content. So he's had like 2 or 3 big box collections so far, I think. So that seemed like the better choice. Then 2011, it was Castles of Burgundy. Of course, although, I don't know, would Shaggy consider the 2022 Castles of Burgundy, or did I have to make that a 2022 game? I'm not sure. But either way, even if it's just the base box with nothing else. But man, what a tough choice. Oh, wait, no. Trajan is the same year. Did I break my own heart? I think I did. No, 2011 Castles of Burgundy, yeah. Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I went with Castle of Burgundy, and I think that's the right choice. And then Trois was my number 1 for 2010. I went for that. Peloponnese is my best game for 2009, but that is not the one I chose. No, it is. It is the one I chose, yeah. 2008, Pandemic. That was a tough one. Pandemic has so much expansion content, but so does Dominion. I believe Dominion was the one that Shaggy chose for his list, and I don't blame him. That's a lifetime's worth of game if you have Dominion in all the expansions. But still, if I've got Pandemic in all the expansions, that's a ton of gameplay too. And plus, Pandemic, I value, we're going to come back to this question later in the show, folks, how much I value cooperative versus competitive games. So I went with Pandemic. 2007, I went with Agricola. Even if we're talking about the original version of Agricola with the original Farmers of the War, I'd have to go with that. And and then 2006, I only own 1 game from 2006, Turn and Taxis. I know there's some other ones like Puerto Rico. What did Shaggy choose for 2006? He chose, I gotta scroll back up here, 2006. Actually, I gotta look because he did actually put his name, the actual specific games. Oh, he put Through the Ages. Totally understandable. I wouldn't keep you'd have to pay me to keep Through the Ages, so that's a no-go for me. But anyway, so 2006, Turn and Taxis. It's a great little game. I'd be happy with that. Now, I didn't spend much time. I should look. Is there anything else from 2006 that I should have chosen over Turn and Taxis? If I come back over here and I go to Advanced Search and I look at what else, because there might have been stuff I love from 2006 I got rid of that I'd want more in Turn and Taxis, but in theory, that would be the case. I would have kept it, right? Let's take a quick search. Because this is what I had to do for the earlier years. Because for a lot of years, I didn't have any games at all. So Through the Ages, again, no. I think the game is brilliant, but there's way too much military conflict in there for us. Imperial, yeah. Pillars of the Earth, no. Ticket to Ride Markland, no. Turning Taxes. Tuluva, no. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that beats Turning Taxes in 2006. Easily. And it is the only one of all these games I have kept. And I've played a lot of these games over the year. I played a lot of the top games for years. I did own Draken. We owned Draken for quite a while. It was nice, but definitely not worth keeping. Yeah, so 2006 was an easy choice for Turning Taxes. 2005, Glory to Rome, of course. Although that's the crappy 2005 version, I'd rather keep my more updated version. But c'est la vie. And then, I ranked San Juan from 2004 over St. Petersburg. But the reality is, I think San Juan is a better game, but I've played so much San Juan over the years. Oh, I didn't think about this. San Juan does have that expansion, doesn't it? And St. Petersburg doesn't. And again, I might have made a mistake there. I did say St. Petersburg because I figure it has more legs than San Juan, mostly because we played so much San Juan. I might have made a mistake on that one. 2003, the only game I owned from that year was Carcassonne the Castle. And then I don't own anything from years prior. So then, to do the other lists, I had to do, basically what you just saw me do. Like for 2001, let's take a look. If I were to go back to here, and I say, give me everything for 2001 and 2001, right? And show me what that is. And, obviously, as it goes back, the pickings get slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. Like, do I want Munchkin? No. Again, you'd have to pay me to take that game. I'd rather not have any game from 2001. But what did I say for 2001, in fact? Because I'm looking through here, and I don't see anything immediate. Oh, Wyatt Earp. Yeah, Wyatt Earp is a great little game. Honestly, I don't know why I don't. I think the only reason I don't have Wyatt Earp anymore is because I couldn't bring everything back from Malta, and that's one of the games that stayed overseas when Jen and I moved back to the States. But I'd still happily keep that one. Although, man, that was a tough choice between Wyatt Earp and Starship Catan. But ultimately, if you go back, you will notice in the earlier years, I've got Catan and Catan the card game. Honestly, I don't want either of those from 1995 and 1996, but there was literally nothing better. Plus, Catan the card game did get a lot of really good expansions. And hey, so does Catan. And, it's not a bad thing to have. 97, For Sale was a no-brainer. 98, Through the Desert was a no-brainer. 99 was a tougher one, right? Oh, yeah, because it was either Lost Cities or Raw. And honestly, I could have gone either way with that. I think maybe Raw is the better choice. I know that's what Shaggy put on his list. But I also love the Lost Cities because, again, I know Jen loves Lost Cities so much. So that was me putting her above me. 2000, Castle, a game everybody's forgotten about from Bruno Fedudi, but it's an excellent little game. It's so heartbreaking that a few years ago, gosh, a long time ago now, there was a chance it was going to be reprinted. But Bruno Fedudi, I believe, had a falling out with the publisher, and so it ends up languishing. Oh, man, that breaks my heart. Yeah, so anyway. Oh, and then 2002, Hellas. I think there was nothing else in 2002 I wanted. Let's go back and look at that. And Hellas is a game that's actually not bad. It's literally a little dudes on a map, tiny little miniatures on a tiny little map. Area control game. Not really for us. But I do recall being impressed by the action card system it had, which was very, very good at the time. I mean, I could put Puerto Rico on, but I played enough Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico is not the best of the two players. It can be a little bit too scripted. And ultimately, and I didn't want these other, because I already had Carcassonne Castle. I don't need Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers. Wallenstein, I already have Amerigo. I didn't need Wallenstein. And there were, clans. Jen actually really likes clans. That might have been a reasonable one, but I didn't particularly care for it. And there just wasn't much in 2002 that was worth the time. And, again, a lot of these I played, and ones I haven't, I already know I don't want. And then I saw Hellas was there. I did previously own it, and it wasn't bad. It was not bad. So that's just a quick rundown of how I went through that thought process. It was a really fun thought process. Easier for me, of course, because I keep such, huge notes on how I rank every game in the universe. But yeah, it was definitely fun. Then Wally continues. Once again, thanks for the excellent year of board game creation. Wishing you and Jen the best in the year to come. Questions? After seeing my top games of the 2003 video, which, by the way, I love having the Board Game Geek stats. Oh, yeah, I filmed my top 10 for 2023 in a new way, and I think I'm going to keep doing that in the future. I'm glad you like your Wally. A lot of people seem to respond pretty well to it. Anyway, questions. Concerning everyone's number one game of the year is Earth. I'm sure I mentioned that. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but yeah, Earth really really did very, very well on a lot of people's lists. Anyway, this one did not make the top of the list in any of my play groups. We played it one time a 4-player, one time a 3-player. While nobody really disliked it, it was nobody's favorite. Even so much so that it seems that never at the table again after these plays. What's your reaction to 3 main critiques that were stated in our play rooms? Okay, so we are breaking down the critiques of Earth. I'm excited. Let's do it. The mini rules objectives, 7 open objectives, I'm correct from the start, plus more if you have cards in play, are fiddly and hard to track yourself and around the table. It's hard enough to track your own objectives, but even more if you play with 3 or 4 players. You most of the time have no idea what others are really scoring for the multiple objectives. So it's often a surprise if someone finishes the objective. Side note, you say you find it hard to keep track of the combos in multi-use cards like Forest Shuffle. Our group found that one really intuitive in selecting cards for our own playstyle compared to Earth, where you have mini cards combined with mini objectives combined. It was very hard to keep track of how many other players were doing each of the objectives. By the way, I can still see it being a less problem with 2 players, but still. Yeah, so right off the bat, you're right. This is less of a concern in 2 players. But I played a lot of Earth. I played Earth at 4 players a lot. I played Earth at 3 players a bit. I played Earth at 2 players a lot. And I didn't really find that to be a problem. Honestly, and by the way, I've also played Earth at 4 players with all the objectives turned on, right? Here's the deal. You don't have to keep track of how every single person is doing with every single objective. Because the reality is, well, one, not all of the objectives are, hey, whoever comes in first scores points. Several of the objectives are everybody just scores however well they do. And, it's not a race to try and do the best. But even for the ones that are, the reality is, Wally, you're not going to be able to max out your standing in all of those. You're not going to be able to do it. So what I have found is the reasonable thing to do is, based on the cards I get early on, and maybe some early pivoting based on cards I get early on, in the first few rounds, I am going to focus on 2 or 3 of those objectives. And then keeping track of how else everybody else is doing on 2 or 3 objectives, even in a full player count game, is not that hard at all. That's the reality. There is no reason to try to because don't you ultimately have like 10 objectives you could be chasing after? That's one of the things that makes me love the game, because you sit down and there's such a huge, wow, can I combine that objective and that objective? Those things really combo pretty well together based on what I've got in my hands. I love that. But again, you can't possibly do well in all of them, so you have to make tough choices. And if I do decide later on, oh, you know what, I can really pivot and start trying to do that one. At that point, it's a pretty easy thing for me to do a quick round of the table. Let's see, how many trees do you have? How much fungus do you have? Or whatever it might be. And I can decide, oh, nobody's really doing particularly well at that. I think I could make a go of this. I'm going to pivot. You don't have to keep track of this round after round after round. It's just reasonable every once in a while to check in on everybody's doing. So I never found that to be a problem at all, even when playing at full player counts with all objectives turned on. Unlike Forest Shuffle, remember, my problem with Forest Shuffle was a physical one. The fact that each card is 2 cards, and sometimes they're split horizontally, and sometimes they're split vertically, and as that game goes on, you might have 10, 12 trees in play, trying to figure out where to put all these different cards. It was just a freaking nightmare. It wasn't so hard. So if I've got 20 cards in hand, which, to be fair, can happen in Earth as well, it's one thing at Earth because I can fan out my hand and see all those cards. If I've got 7 cards in my hand in Forest Shuffle, that means I've really got 14 cards. But I can't just span them out and see, based on information in the top left corner, what all my cards are. I have to fan them up and down. I have to fan them left to right. And I just found it to be really obnoxious. Another thing I found obnoxious about Forest Shuffle, which I didn't really complain at the time, I really did not like the end condition of just the, hey, whenever, the winter cards, I think, whenever the 3rd winter card comes out, that's the end of the game. I found that to be annoying and frustrating because, it can make the game go on way too long. If that 3rd winter card is at the bottom of the deck, I would have much preferred Forest Shuffle had a fixed turn order structure. Because honestly, I felt the game just went on too long unless you got lucky and those winter cards came out lickety-split. So that was another issue I had with that. Let's see. Okay, next up, Earth. We found it extremely solitaire. while promising a lot of interaction because you get resources on every player's turn in the race for the same objectives, in practice we found it extremely solitary. Regarding objectives, see point A, regarding free resources, since it's hard to track what other players are going for, it's also hard to predict what actions they will take. Almost impossible, we found, unless you take a lot of extra time during your turn to figure it out. No, Wally, you're wrong. That is so wrong, but I'll let you finish. So, this made it not much of an interactive gameplay mechanism, but a random resource input, and we tend not to like many random input-output variant. I agree. If I were playing it like you were, I'd like it a lot less. I like more fixed, regimented, quasi-predictable things, which is what Earth is. We'll kind of in a second. This made my mechanism feel more like being lucky. Get what you want in between turns instead of clever play. For example, in Race Roll for the Galaxy, you can truly try to deduce what other players are going for each round. We did not have this experience in Earth. Maybe if you play the game many, many times. If you go back and play it a few more times, Wally, you will find that to be the case. Although I found it right from my very first game, because here's the deal. It's, again, you're getting too granular, right? Trying to understand exactly what every single person has going on, how many resources they got, that's the wrong thing. It's much more high level. It's more about, how many cards do you have in your hand? Okay, chances are, I forget what the name of the action is. You're going to do the action that lets you play cards. I should really pay attention to that. If I look, all I've got to do when my turn comes around, and I'm trying to figure out, should I trigger playing cards? Oh, look, the player to my left has a bunch of cards in their hand. They're going to do it. So I can just wait for them to do it, which means I can do something else to prepare for them. That's the level that you should be paying attention to. How many cards do they have in their hand? Oh, wow. The person to my left has no cards in their hand. They only have one or two. Chances are, again, you don't have to pay attention to everybody. Pay attention to the person on your left. What is going to happen right after my turn? So I should prepare on my turn for what's going to happen on your turn because you're to the left of me and I don't have to look at everybody. I just have to look at you. But actually, it's not that hard to look around the table and see, oh yeah, Jen over there, she's got no cards. I bet you anything by the time we come around there, we're going to be drawing some more cards. That's the only level you have to do it at. Trying to keep track of particular individual things, that is not necessary. It is very easy to very quickly and instantly grok what's going to be happening on future turns and plan for them. And that's one of the things that makes the game really special. It's one of the things that makes it my top 10 of the year. So if you were to spend more time, Wally, and try to look at it again with less granularity and more big picture analysis, I think you'll find it is not solitaire at all. All right, C. While having nice pictures and art, the game also has the promise of being thematic. We quickly felt like we were collecting cubes and symbols, thus quickly losing the thematic feel of the game. In contrary to other Tableau games like Ark Nova, Wingspan, Terra Mystica, or not Terraforming Mars, TM, right, Terraforming Mars, where we keep connected with the theme, and probably also one of the reasons they keep hitting the table instead of Earth. I'll grant you that one. I do think there are thematic elements to the cards, but they are probably not as strong. The theme is not as strongly integrated into this game as it is to Terraforming Mars. I'll completely 100% agree. However, I think it is integrated enough. It was integrated enough for me, especially more than anything else, those silly little trees that grow taller and taller, that really helped the biome feel like it was a living place growing on the table in front of me. And you don't get that in the other games you're talking about. You don't actually make three-dimensional structures that represent the growth and development of your biome. And I think that it's a little thing. And I've heard some people complain because they're kind of, they don't really snap together tightly, which is kind of a shame, but I love them. I love those trees, and I think there is enough. There could have been more. Make no mistake. Honestly, you mentioned it earlier. I think Forest Shuffle probably does a better job than Earth, but Earth does a good enough job. So that's the thing. I need to cross a certain threshold for theme for a game to feel thematic to me. And honestly, I often find that threshold is much easier to cross for me than it is for other people. Like, Tom Bassel will often go on about how this game has no theme. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's got theme for days. But that's because my threshold is lower. I find it very easy. There's something about my brain that is just storytelling mode all the time. And I can just immediately, hold on a second, folks. You're back. Saw a dog wandering around on the beach. I thought it might be ours, but nope, it's just one that kind of looks like ours. Anyway, though, what was I saying? Oh, anyway, long story short, I can feel the story growing with just a few little things. It doesn't have to be a really big deal. I see theme where other people don't because I bring my own storytelling in. I don't have to rely on thematic text on the cards or, perfectly integrated mechanisms and thematic powers and thematic justifications. I love those things. I love them to pieces. But I can get by with maybe less than most. But I totally would grant you this game, Earth doesn't do as much as others. It does enough for me. So anyway, continuing on. All of these make it just a 6.5 to 7.5 for me. But we'd like to play it with someone, but we would play it if someone really wants to, but we don't bring, well, you know what, if I'm ever visiting, man, I'm going to play. And I'm going to show you just how not multiplayer solitaire it is and just how you can stay on top of the objectives. And you know what? Heck, while I'm at it, I'll probably tell you stories about how my biome is growing. I guarantee you, at the end of the game, even if you don't feel it quite so much throughout, at the end of the game, I feel like my version of Earth is radically different than yours. And that's another thing I always love. I mean, ever since I think the first time I ever noticed it was Suburbia, or maybe Agricola, that, Jen and I, we will often, after we finish a game of Agricola or Suburbia or other ones, we'll say, "What? Tell me about your city." Oh, you were built on a stadium and then and a university. Oh, so you became a college town that you built in Suburbia or whatever it might be. I definitely felt that in Earth as well because, my planet really has a certain vibe and yours has a different vibe. And to me, that's emblematic of theme finding its way in. All right, continuing on.
And that will be the end of this session of the Rahdo Q&A. Thank you, folks, for watching and also for submitting your questions. Send me more to the email address questions@rahdo.com, and I'll get you covered in a future episode. And in the meantime, if you would like to hear some more, you're in luck. I have been doing the Rahdo Talks Through audio podcast for years now with my wife, Jen, and we have got hundreds of hours for you to enjoy. You can hit that big box that's on screen right now if you want to dive deep. Also, you can go on ahead and subscribe so you won't miss the next Rahdo Q&A. And thank you, folks, for watching, for listening. Have a very, very nice day. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye.